Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. You are on the Thrive and Shine platform. This is a podcast about how to embody the principles that you live in your life in terms of authenticity and conscious leadership. And every week we have another guest who brings us as much enlightenment, as fun, as some principles for leadership and the way that they decide to lead their life. And today we have Elisa Rosenthal. I'm not sure if I actually pronounce it very well. She's going to have to correct me probably. And Elisa is joining us from Brazil, which is awesome. So that's the beauty of this podcast system is we can join people from around the world and talk and have some more fun. Elisa is a mentor, an entrepreneur, as well as an advocate for women's equality and empowerment. And she does amazing work in Brazil. And we met through this Shakti Leadership program that we're both part of, which is a program for women and by women to lead in ways that are more aligned with women and more aligned with congruence and a heart-based type of leadership. So without any further ado, welcome, Elisa.
Thank you, Tatiana.
So did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah. Actually, you pronounced my single name correctly.
Oh, sorry.
Elisa Rosenthal. But I've been married for 10 years, so I'm using Elisa Tawil. That it's
Tawil.
Tawil, yeah.
My apologies to your husband right now, who I'm likely going to meet at some point because I intend we Elisa and I have lots of amazing plans coming up together. But so sorry, Mr. Tawil. And so you also were in real estate, and you've come from a completely different world than the one that you are in today. So take it away. How did you come to this place, and why are you doing this work today?
Yeah, no, this is an interesting story because all my career, I'm dealing with real estate market here in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, where I live. I'm an architect. And after graduated, I always work with real estate development. Mm-hmm. But after my second child, I was in a multinational company, and I was feeling like I was not in a great balance. A balance, what I mean is work, family, and myself. Mm-hmm. So then I decided for an entrepreneur journey, and it was a really, really journey. And always started with picking the wrong or the right partners, because I realized that was not the right path to follow. And I started dealing with female leaderships to feel more connected with other women mm-hmm. that was trying to be the leader of their own lives. Mm-hmm. And I be part of the huge group, the hugest one here in Brazil called mm-hmm. Women of Brazil. Mm-hmm. After that, I entered for very close group of the Jewish community here. There is only for women. It's empowering and in leadership for Jewish women. Mm-hmm. And the next steps was start the Shakti program. Then I meet you, and here we are.
Here we are. And here the story ends here. No, the story continues.
The story is beginning. Yeah. No, all this work with women starts. With this long story short that I just tell you, but I start also my own project that it's also a podcast here in Sao Paulo, in Brazil. It's in mm-hmm. Portuguese called I will translate the name, but in English it would be Female Bias.
Female bias.
Bias, yes.
Bias, female bias.
Yeah.
And this is actually, it's a good name. I like the name. It's interesting because it's actually the way that the Shakti leadership was created, and it's also I think the way that we met is and your story is like many women And like my story to a certain extent, it's we are leaders, we are business women, and yet we just feel like the way that we're leading our lives, in order to create what we want to create, achieve what we want to achieve, gain whatever success we want to gain, it really rarely feels like it's aligned with who we are as women. It just feels like it's a never-ending race that doesn't bring us any space for a little bit more leniency, or a little bit more of a type of leadership that feels real to us, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think that the name, it's very interesting, because we think that this kind of leadership is something that we have inside all of us, especially women. They were talking about women here. And we are this unconscious bias. And then suddenly you became conscious of who you are, and how powerful you are, and what you need to stand for in your life, in your family, in your career, in your company, or wherever you do, as a woman, as a person that needs to change anything. When we were talking about, especially when we became mother, we need to leave something better for our kids, for your society that we are creating. So then suddenly this unconscious bias became your female bias, and then that's what I'm working with. How you turn this unconscious to consciousness,
right.
And how conscious you are to being the leader as we are of our own lives.
Yeah. And it's, the interesting part in this kind of conversation is that there is not one way that's best really than the other. I think that it's important for us to underline that we talk about a system in the business world that's more masculine. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's not to be followed. It just means that it needs to be altered to what works for each individual. And we can't just continue copying what has been, simply because it has been, just because it's been, the way that people do it. It just needs to be redefined. It needs to be altered, and it needs to be suited uniquely to each individual. But specifically for women, it just needs to be really like a suit, modeled for the purpose and the needs of women. We just have different ways to go about business. That's all it is. And so that's I like the way that you call it a bias, because it's just that it's really a bias.
Yeah. And you touched on a very deep and important vision that there is not a formula, it's who you are, but
right.
we need to bring the unconsciousness of ourselves to a more consciousness level.
That's right.
And independent if it's the Shakti way or the I don't know, it will be the path that you choose for your life. What is important here, that in some point we need to start to see ourselves, to understand what we are doing here,
to know who we are.
Yeah, but this is not it may sound like self-help, but it's in a very short vision, but it's something really hard to understand, to learn about, and also to put in practice. And this is when we are talking about to be a very consistent leader. When you talk about what you do, what you say, that represents what you are. This is something really deep and really hard to put in practice. And once we start this journey of self-knowledge,
right?
Yeah, it's a hard work, it's
really
a hard work.
It is. Because as my daughter, who is 25, turning 26 this summer, and we have this joke because she's already on that path, which I so appreciate to begin with, because there are not a lot of 26 very conscious young women, and our joke is there is no pause button in on this journey. Like when you start the self exploring and the journey of really self-responsibility, in the way that you show up and in the way that you align your actions and your words and everything in your life, and you take that step, there is no pause button. And sometimes it's exhausting. Sometimes it's actually just, frustrating, because you feel like you've accomplished something in perhaps being more here or doing more here, and then something else slaps you in the face. And so it's just a journey. It's just a path. That's all it is, really. There is never an end to any of it.
And I think that's why it's so important, your work, like what we're doing here, because I'm sure that someone who's gonna hear us in some point in their particular life, particular story, particular moment, and then it's sometimes it's a word or brief or a silence that can help this person,
make a difference.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about how the women in Brazil may differ than the women in another country. So women are women, men are men. Okay, let's move on to the differences, even though we don't want to highlight so much the differences, but I want to give context to your society. I mean, you're a country of 240 million people. It's a huge amount of people, very similar to the States. What's happening in Brazil for women, and how are you hoping to make a difference?
Yeah, this is important vision of our country, because I live in a huge country with this 240 million population, and of course we have half part of this population women, and we have a sort of problems that all over the world has, as sexual abuse, as equality. We fight for equality in the corporate world, and I think we can spend all day long here talking about all the issues that we have, especially because I live in a country that has this huge polarity of the riches and poverty.
Poverty.
Poverty. But if I could highlight one especially issue to bring for the discussion, is that we have some fragments of the problems, all the problems that we are talking here. And the first question that I could highlight is the equality, the equal position for women on politics. So I think this is an issue that we are also discussing in the United States today, and by now we are discussing to regress for something important that we had reached in the politics, because we had minimum of 30% of women to be in the politics in the last election, and then they are voting for extend this permission.
Just to be clear, the 30% is a minimum quota for women to be in politics. Is that what you're saying in Brazil?
Yeah, that's it was
enforced. 30% was being enforced for women to. So my question regarding this type of enforcement, when anybody is forcing really 30% of women to be in anything, whether it's a board, whether it's the making of the leadership of a company, or the making of a political group, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is the question of quality. Now, does that mean that because we're enforcing 30%, that we're just taking women to take women?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens with that? And how have you experienced the fallout of that?
Yeah, this is important discussion, because I agree with you. When we have something that it's forced, that it's like a quota, but our gap, it's so intense and so hard,
right,
that if you let to the normal path of the society, so
it would yeah.
you take so long. So we need to start addressing this problem with kind of solutions that can solve this huge gap in a sort of way that once you have this this number as 30%, now we need to find how we keep it, because the question that we are dealing with, the politics now wants to vote to exchange this number that we already have, and then once you lost it, to have it again will take much more longer. So what we have reached until now, we need to fight to keep it,
right?
Because it's already a space that we have. Once we have the space, how we're gonna treat it?
Fill the space. Yeah. Who are you going to fill the space with? Will be the next mandate or the next. Yeah.
And then we are reaching another discussion here, because we need to discuss the quality and the level of this female leadership they are reaching this space. And I have no doubt that we don't have enough prepared women to be for
leaders,
the country, the political issues, but we need to start for one point. So the first point, we have the space, we need to keep it, we need to fight for the space that we already have, and then we need to
push the ones who are the best leaders forward,
and also to create space and to create the elements to prepare women to be part of the space that we already conquered or they already reached. So I think that this is the most efforts that I'm working with, because I'm working in this empowerment and leadership group, but it's inside the Jewish community here in Sao Paulo, and we are creating how we can address the leadership for this Jewish and female leadership that we are creating now. So once you can maintain and keep this minimal space, we need to fill the space with quality. So this is.
So what are your efforts? What are you doing to fill this space with a type of leadership that is, that is more elevated? That like, what are the efforts that are being done right now, that are being made to change the type of leadership?
We have a lot of movements, female movements here in Sao Paulo, in Brazil. What I'm particularly doing, I'm part of 3 main movements right now. This huge one, this is the Women of Brazil, but it's a huge movement. I don't feel that I make a huge difference inside this movement. So I create another one with 2 women. Then monthly, we open a space to bring more women that has this own movements, to be able to speak about what they are doing. because we have a lot of short and more individual groups. So we are bringing these women to discuss and to be able to show what they are doing. So this one we call Women per Women. So
women for women, or women per
women for women.
Women for women. Yeah. And this is a space simply opened for other leaders who have their own movements to come in and share. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's only to share, because sometimes you want to be part of a movement, but you don't know where to find it.
Absolutely, it's a great idea.
Fits you better because you have so many subjects, so many issues, so many different places to go, and you can't stand for all the subjects. It's impossible. We have so many things to fight for. So we need to find what fits better to you and what kind of space you feel better to be part of. So we open monthly this space to bring different movements that already exist here.
And then the third group,
the third group, this is the inside the Jewish community. So we are creating our own leadership program to create new leaders inside the Jewish community, especially exclusively
exclusively for Jewish women.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what are the issues that you are pushing forward as the issues for women, for all these, like, what are the common denominators between these three different groups that you're part of, that you are either leading or participating in? What are the common denominators that are really dear to your heart? What do you want to push forward in Brazil, for Brazil women, that are really the ones that are either dear to your heart, or that you really want to celebrate?
Yeah, I think the common subject that I work in all these three different environments, you need to know what you stand for, and once you know what you stand for, you need to be prepared to debate. You need to be prepared to have enough content to speak in front of what you are standing for. So it not depend about what the issue that you are dealing with, but I think what is the most important addressing issue subject in this kind of leadership that I'm standing for is you need to know about what are you standing for. So I also come back of our Shakt essence is that you need to be the leader of your life. So either you are the leader, is the person you are. So I think that what is most important here is not just to be in this movement or just to be in this space because someone else is.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
So you need to be there because you want to be there.
Fundamentally believe in it. Yeah.
And
so you mean right? So are you referring to, when you say you need to be the leader of your life, you're referring to not only being in those movements and in those groups to stand for what you believe in, but also congruently leading that type of life in your personal life?
Yeah, that's it. Because we live in a more in this social media,
everything's documented now. So if you're not congruent, it's gonna show up at some point.
And we have a lot of leadership appearing all the time, and we have a lot of people that inspires you, and a lot of people that talk about a lot of things. But I really appreciate that we have a mentor, that we have our inspiration coach, that we have our inspiration leaders. But this is important to be to have your own opinion, and to argue what you want about, argue about all the subjects that you are dealing with. So it's important that you create your opinion, that you create your own statement, that you can argue, you can go inside one you want a discussion, when we need to be in a conversation as we are right now, and how you address the problem. So yeah, do you remember when we were in San Diego, we met Laurie Supizio?
Yes.
Laurie is the leader of the leadership school in San Diego.
Correct.
And when I asked Laurie about what is leadership, she said me something that that fits very well about what I think, that what I believe that it's leadership. Because she said that leadership is not about what you do. It's leadership is about what you are, and it's how you can address the problem. So it's not because you're the boss, you are the CEO, you are the owner of anything that makes you a leader.
No,
but leadership, it's all you do in your daily basis. Leadership is all you do when you wake up and you go to the bed.
Yeah, it's modeling.
Yeah,
it's like being a parent. I mean, if you keep talking to your kids about what you want them to do or be or anything, and yet you're not behaving that way, they're not going to believe you. You are not believable as a parent if you say one thing and do another. It's actually, kids look up to what we do way more than the things we say.
Yeah. And and you need more real life. I think that's why what you need to discuss, because we need people that really do things, not only post things. We need people that go outside their mobile
comfort zone, or
the comfort zone, because this comfort zone, this is a very comfortable space. We're not
Absolutely.
talking. When we start talking about all this journey, that is not this is not a comfort zone anyway.
Right. So as you're strongly underlining that one has to create their own ideas, their own belief system, so on and so forth, what is it that you believe in? What is your belief system?
This is so interesting question, because I think that everybody has this propose and this stand for a phrase, and I think this is so deep and difficult question for me to answer. And during all this process of self-knowledge and understand what we are standing for, what I'm being more conscious about my life and what I stand for and what I'm dealing for. It's I'm more and more more I know, more I don't know. And so what I can answer for you right now, is I don't know to answer you. I'm
well, you believe
I build it. I'm in a process that I'm still building all this I don't know. I think that as an architect, in my essence, I'm still drawing this final beautiful project, and I'm in this process of developing. And sometimes I question myself if I will have this final drawing until the end of my existence, life here in this world, because as the Sacred Family Church in Barcelona, this is unfinished work of Gaudí. This is continue building and building and building. I do believe that our purpose and our stand for is something that we are always searching, and this searching makes you always be standing and work.
And it keeps us curious, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why does there need to be a final drawing? I don't think that there is a final drawing. I think our life is an eternal drawing where we continuously etch and modify and maybe erase or maybe keep and or discard, or like, why does it have to be a final drawing? I think that's the path. That's what we were talking about at the beginning. It's the path, the journey.
And it's exactly like the balance. I heard in another incredible podcast that I really love, that it's Human of Impact. And I heard from the Lisa Billiet. She told an interesting conversation with Zilana. I think it's Dr. Zilana. They are talking about balance. And suddenly she said, no, balance is impossible. You can reach balance.
Yeah.
You can reach balance. Sometimes you'll be more this way, sometimes more that way. And balance is something that we're never going to reach. And then I realized that, okay, I can be in this comfort zone, that I won't find my huge, my purpose. I will.
Yeah. But what's interesting is it also depends how you define balance.
Yeah.
Because if you define balance as a way to be every day like this, and not allow yourself to go here or there, or then that's impossible for women, because we are such emotional beings, and we are, obviously men are emotional too, but we tend to be a little bit more emotional. Yeah. Let's just be fair with that statement. And so so how do you define balance? It's just it's how do you define success? And people will say, oh, she or he is so successful. What does that mean? I think we need to, again, continuously stay curious and continuously be open to changing our mind. It's okay to change our mind on different things, and to continuously etch our drawing and add colors or remove colors, or and be, but we are the drawer of that, the drawer, no, the one drawing. We are the one drawing that particular drawing, and so let it be ours, and let it be really personal, and let's not hesitate in creating it the way that we want to create it, because I think that's the fear is, well, what if I add this color and it doesn't fit? What if I'm out of balance and that's not okay? And what if I lead in this way and it's not acceptable or accepted by others because it's too emotional, or it's too, like, why?
Yeah. And I think that if someone is hearing us, and sometimes you're gonna hear us in the future, and can feel a little bit more relief when you don't find this clearly proposed phrase that everybody's trying to reach, this golden circle. Because sometimes it's really hard to find it clearly when you are dealing in this revolution 5.0, in this moment, especially moment in our corporative world, when it's all changing in a velocity that sometimes is really difficult to follow. And also because we as women, we have so different moments in our lives. You are in a moment that you are before marriage, if you're married or not, and then you're married, and then you have kids, and then you are near the 40s, and then
it's a cycle. It's a continuous cycle that keeps renewing itself. And so, exactly to your point, the expectation for us as leaders or women in business, or women period, not even the women in business, is to reach this so-called balance. And I don't believe in balance as a standard definition, because I think each of us have a different sense for what we consider each uniquely our own balance. For me, my own balance today is completely different than the one that I had of myself or expected of myself, like even 3 years ago. It changes all the time. It changes with the cycle of life, and it changes. Women especially are full of cycles. Like we have our own cycle within a month, and to deny that is to deny who we are and how our body functions. Right before our period, we have this we need to go into more of a cozy type of nurturing environment for ourselves and people around us, because that's a darker part of our cycle during that month. And then after that, after we're done with that part of our cycle, we're full of light and we have very creative ideas and we're very dynamic. And just in 1 month, we have that type of cycle. So expecting people, especially women, to have this so-called balance and have this all the time is to me completely ridiculous. It's an unfair expectation of ourselves and of each other.
I agree, completely agree. And I think that's the most expectation that most bring us for this crazy anxious feeling that, oh, I need to be this, or I need to be that, or I need to have and that brings for the most problems that most of the women and most of the people were having now: depression, anxious, stress. And so
sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's just to end, to complete, that brings for the first of we're talking about the essence of my leadership it's to be in this consciousness that you, even though knowing, you need to be comfort on the situation of searching, or of to be on a conscious state of, no, I'm on this searching, and be comfortable to answer that and say, I don't have your answer right now. I on my searching. And this is part of the process,
Yeah, and I think the consciousness, and correct me if I don't understand the way you reference consciousness, but I think the way that you mean it is also how I talk about it or live it, is that to be simply conscious of what is going on within us. And as we were talking about at the beginning, to get to know who we are and get to experience really who we are deeply, without always looking to be pleasing on the outside or fitting into a box on the outside, and navigating through those waters with what we want, who we are, what makes our heart sing, and be conscious of that. Just simply conscious of that. We need to really sit with ourselves in a way that allows us to know that, because we are in a society where people distract themselves all the time, right? So they distract themselves from knowing what pain feels like inside, knowing what makes them tick, knowing what makes them happy, or whatever. And we distract ourselves with phones and the internet and all kinds of stuff, and we avoid. That's the opposite of consciousness, knowing really who we are and how we want to lead our lives.
And talking about this comfort zone that is very different than the zone that we are right now, to be in this searching, or to be in this construction, on this drawing this plan, it's much more difficult, because especially for me, I feel that I I can draw it in such a many ways that you need to have a clear program, and then can address the other subjects, the other problems, their issues and cycles. And but this is the main the vertical,
the core,
the core of this leadership that we are talking about. Because you can be able to address other problems, to address other proposals, to address other subjects, but you need to be prepared for that. So I think this is important.
Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes left, and I want to focus. Yes, I know it goes so fast. I'm sorry. It's crazy fast. Every time I have an awesome guest, it's like they have the same answer. It's like, what? I want to ask you in the next 5 minutes, I want to focus more on you, and in light of the women in Brazil, in light of the type of leadership that you are embodying and modeling yourself. What on a daily basis makes you happy? Very simple little things or big things, but what makes you happy as, you know, Elisa Tawil? Like, who are you and what makes you happy?
What makes me happy is know that other women can listen to my work, can listen to my podcast, can read what I post in my network and feel better and feel stronger and feel in our tribe and feel part of our tribe, you know, feel that they can be also the leader of their lives and can change the environment as they are part of. So this is what makes me happy.
And as
stronger.
And as a woman, if you were to, for instance, take today, what made you smile today? As a woman,
for me, it's my family. Yeah. For me, it's my family, my kids, and my husband, and my family. You know, because the family that we build, we born in a family, but we build our own family. So to look to my family and, you know, to see their happy, their health, their stronger, that makes me feel better.
What can't you go without every day? Do you understand that question? It's, what is it that you cannot avoid every day? What is it that you can't go without? You have to have this one thing every day. What is it?
I can challenge. Yeah.
Challenge. Interesting. Yeah. And when you are, as a woman, when you are feeling out of so-called balance and you are frustrated, sad, angry, what brings you back to you?
What brings me back to me, it's running, listen to my podcast. Not my own podcast, but any podcast.
Oh, really? Yeah.
These moments of inspiration, there I'm alone, running, that brings me back to my center.
So it's taking time alone to do what you need to do to come back to you, right?
Yes. It's an introspective energy. Yeah, I need to be alone to be back. Yeah, of course.
That's important, because again, we go back to not distracting yourself from what could be an easier route to avoid feeling out of sort, or feeling out of whack, or however you want to call it. It's really taking the time to be with you.
Yeah.
What is your next big challenge that you have created for yourself, that you really want to take on? What's the next big challenge?
Wow, my big challenge once I'm on the uh, career transition moment is
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I need uh, to leave something behind.
Legacy.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that is your biggest challenge moving forward. That's the big picture.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah.
And so those movements that you're part of and the type of leadership that you're creating is the onset of that, of the legacy.
Yeah, is the is the path for that.
Nice. And so when are you coming to California?
Whoa. This is a difficult question, but probably sooner that
you imagine.
That I imagine. Yes.
Well,
I think that we have a lot of things to
have a lot of things to accomplish together. Absolutely. Either you come here or I can't wait for us to get together in Brazil. I can't wait to go see you there. I've visited your gorgeous country before, and I'm excited. I'm excited for all that's coming our way and what we're going to be creating together. Super excited.
Probably you're gonna you met in another part of the world. You don't know. So
Absolutely.
You have an opportunity.
Absolutely. Elisa, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I love that we took this time to go deeper and to just have a conversation between two women who are in fact exactly the same, right? We have the same issues as women, and yet we are one in Brazil, one in California. The differences don't really matter. What really matters is what brings us together, and what brings us together is really the desire for both of us to create something different for women around the world.
Yeah, and thank you. And I'm so happy that we met in this so special space that it was practice circle, and that we can build it. Build from that, and cross our lives in this moment, and then continue. You are such inspiring women. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So are you. Thank you so much. See you soon.
See you soon.
Take care. Thank you so much. Bye.